The title of this podcast is Does My Involvement Make It Worse? One of the things that I realize is sometimes it's not necessary for me to go in and, fiddle with anything, try to steer it in a certain way, that I can just leave it alone. And maybe that is the best thing I could possibly do. When I find myself wanting to get involved, I really need to check in to see why do I want to get involved? Is it because something is bothering me that I feel like I need to get involved? Something is hitting my stuff? And if it is, then I'm not likely to make that situation better. I'm not likely to improve it. And so I've really learned to take a hands-off approach to some things that in the past, without the practice, I would have got involved with and inevitably made it worse. Recently, one of my really, really good friends had a situation in which he expressed opinion about something that someone else did. And it was coming from a very good place because it was in keeping with what we're trying to do in this community, the spirit of being inspiring and lifting each other up uh, is what we're about. And part of that means detaching from a story that back then it seemed really inspiring. But as you continue to grow, you find out that that story is kind of stuck in the past. And I think about the way that I used to characterize my childhood when I would share it, because it wasn't often that I shared that part of it. But in that story, when I would talk about the abuse from my stepfather, I was the victim who, people would start to say, like, man, it's amazing that you emerged from that kind of childhood to, to enjoy some of the successes that you had in your life. And what would make a person say that is because the way that I told the story was one in which I was, a victim in some way. And so when I tell the story now, I tell it completely differently. I tell it like, hey, listen, when people do ask me about what it was like growing up, it's like, there was some good there and there was some, a lot of growth opportunities too. What were your parents like? And I say, I had a stepfather who was really challenged, with alcoholism, and he did the best he could, based on where he was, and his own life experiences. So I just have a lot of love and compassion for him. And that telling of it, there's no victimhood there at all. So one of my friends was, trying to get some feedback that wasn't well received by the other person. And then another person this person who felt like they were wrong called and got involved too. And they started, demanding apologies and all this other stuff. And so this whole event found itself at my doorstep. And I could have, as the, I guess the leader of this, group of people, I could have interjected myself into this. I certainly could have got involved. And because I saw the two people that were kind of like ganging up on this other person demanding an apology, which I didn't think an apology was necessary, especially if you do what ToBeRe is about, which is assume positive intent. Assuming positive intent. When you hear feedback, don't take it personally. Just like, hey, listen, what can I learn from this? And if you're going to say and give people an opportunity to uh, just give them grace, just give people grace and be kind, period. So I took that advice, right? Of that advice that I said that, which is what I like other people to do. And I didn't get involved. I certainly could have. In the past, I might have. But in this time, I thought to myself, does my involvement, will it make this situation worse? And with as passionate as everyone was about them being right and what needed to happen, there was no way that I was going to be able to talk them down from that. There was no amount of explaining, trying to help them see the good in the other people. It was just not going to happen. People were too defensive and rooted in their own narrative about what happened as well as what needed to happen next. So what I did was I did nothing. And I think by doing nothing, I didn't make the situation worse, but I probably made it a little bit better. I wish I'd done this a lot, more. before the practice, but I'm learning to do it now. So I invite you to look at your own life, the things that are going on, whether it's, during this time of the year, you have family members seeing how we come together, seeing it differently, whether it's a family reunion, whether it's a gathering around the holidays, about what people are going to do and eat and who needs to be responsible for this, and you see people suffering over it, maybe you stay clear of that. And maybe like, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, my input, I just want to be loving and kind. That's it. Like, period. Well, what do you think about the way they're looking at this? I got no opinion on that. I got no comment. I just want to be loving and kind. That's it. Period. I don't need it to be a certain way. That's fine too. If you guys want to like let go of your grievances with the other person or let go of control over this whole thing, hey, I'm happy to help facilitate that. But if you're not ready to assume a positive intent and that everyone cares, they just care a little bit differently about this than you do, or coming from a different point of view, if nobody's willing to lay that down so that we can just connect and just be loving to each other, then I'm just going to keep quiet and just know that that's my contribution to the group. So whether it's at work, whether it's in your personal life, whatever the situation may be, ask yourself, does my involvement make it better and make it worse? Now be mindful that the personal mind will think that its approach or what it's calling for is going to make it better. It does not make it better. It only makes it worse. So think about that.